Hello everyone, it's Jill the Wandering Stamper. Today we are coming to you to make a double Z fold card. It's not a new kind of fold, but it really showcases the gorgeous designer series paper and products from the Thoughtful Journeys suite. So we're going to make a beautiful card with some beautiful paper, beautiful backgrounds, and I made two of my cards for my beautiful daughters. They are celebrating Mother's Day, as many of us moms are, next weekend, and I was playing around with some card designs and saw the double Z fold, and a great example of one that I knew I had to copy for my daughters for Mother's Day. And while I was at it, I thought, you know what, this is so pretty that I'm going to need to share it with you. So let's take a moment to get the camera turned down so I can show you all the products and get started on this beautiful card. Thanks for joining me today. I mean, come on, look at this paper. Is this not the most beautiful paper you've ever seen? So today we are playing around with the Thoughtful Journeys suite. That also includes the Thoughtful Journeys 6x6 designer series paper. Oh my gosh, you get 10, actually you get 20 designs, 10 on one side, 10 on the other, and you get 4 sheets of each. So you get 40 sheets of paper with basically 80 designs. So gorgeous. I mean, look at these thistles, you've got sunsets, all kinds of flowers. I mean, this paper is just beautiful. I love these kinds of papers too because they're so versatile. You can use the whole sheet, you can cut it apart. It's just gorgeous. And of course, it's Stampin' Up, so the back is equally gorgeous. So you've got backgrounds, you've got patterns, and you've even got more flowers and things on the back. So this paper is beautiful. I actually got 2 packs of it because I've almost gone through half a pack already, and I just got it. And of course it pairs with the Thoughtful Wishes dies. These dies are so pretty. You've got some really pretty sentiments, some gorgeous flowers and leaves. And then when you purchase the suite, you also get the dies, and these dies are beautiful. They have lots of flower patterns. They cut out the outlines of the flowers that are in some of the stamps, and they just make flower building really pretty. So we're going to be using that. And then I am going to be using some pieces from the Unbound Love stamp set and coordinating dies. If you haven't seen these are so pretty. They've got a little bit of everything in them, so I really like it. They've got birthday, they've got some spiritual things, they've got celebration, just some sayings, I mean, just everything, all kinds of stuff. And then the Unbound Love dies that coordinate with them, look at this. They're all kinds of shapes, they make tags, they layer, they're just, they're so pretty and they're so well thought out. So this is a really good addition to your stamp stash because it's got stuff for any situation, which I love. And then we're also going to be using some of the stylish shape dies. If you don't have these are so fabulous. I use them all the time. They go with a lot of things. Actually, I don't believe we're using them on this card, but we did use these on some of the samples. So I'm going to show you some of those samples. So let's get this set aside and we'll get started. So as I mentioned, we're going to make a double Z fold card. So let me get set up here. So let me grab my paper cutter. This card is not hard to make. You may have made them before. It's been around for, the fold has been around for a while, but I felt like this fold just really showed off the designer series paper so well. So this is what we're going to be using. I grabbed some of the brand new, what is it called? I haven't memorized them. I should have them memorized by now. Wait a minute. It's right here. Well, we're using some Blackberry Bliss and some Petunia Pop. That's what it's called. Petunia Pop. So we're using Blackberry Bliss, Petunia Pop, and then we're using some basic white, and then I've picked some background papers. This is the reverse side of this pattern. So some background papers, and then this is going to be the front of my card. So I felt like this went together really well, so I've decided to use that. And then we've also used some scraps from Mossy Meadow, which pairs with this paper. And everything just kind of all comes together from there. So let's start cutting our base. So we have two base pieces. You have what I would refer to as a rear base and a front base. So or a back base and the front base. So let's start with the back base. The back base is going to be 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches. All right. So this is an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of paper. So I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. I think I actually have 4 1/4. Okay, that is perfect. 4 1/4. I've used half of this sheet of paper already. And then 10 1/2. So we're cutting, actually, nope, this one is 11. Reset. 11 by 4 1/4. My other piece is 10 1/2. So you're going to have your first base at 11 inches by 4 1/4. Sorry for that confusion. And then we're going to do a little bit of scoring. So we're going to score it at 2 3/4. And then we're going to score it at 5 1/2. Okay. That's it for that. So we're going to set that aside. And now we're going to grab what I refer to as my front base. The front base is going to be 10 1/2 inches. So I'm basically going to cut a 1/2 inch off because this is 11 inches. And then it's going to be 3 1/4 inches. So 10 1/2 by 3 1/4. Okay. So now we're going to turn it back onto the long side and we're going to score it at 4 1/2 and 7 1/2. Okay, so we've got our back base and our front base. We're going to set those aside. And now we're going to do some Designer Series paper cutting. So I'm going to cut my back layer first. This is going to be kind of a background layer. So I'm going to cut that at 4 1/8 by 2 5/8, and there's going to be 2 of those. So this is directional paper, so I want to make my 4 1/8 this way. Okay, so I'm going to cut it. Now I could actually do it this way too. Let me think, which way would I want to do it? I'm just going to stick to this way. 4 1/8 and 2 5/8, and we're going to do 2 of these. So 2 5/8 and 2 5/8. Okay. So this again is 4 1/8 by 2 5/8, and you need 2. All right. And then you're also going to need one that is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Okay, so I'm going to cut one more sheet at 4 1/8, and then I'm going to cut it at 5 3/8. Okay, so that's for the back layer, and basically the way that's going to go is this is going to be layered here, and these are going to be layered here. Okay, so that's where we're going with that. All right, and now I want to cut my front layers, moving my scraps out of the way. So the front mat, well, actually we're going to have a mat first. So let's see, what color do I want my mats to be? We are using these. So let's do some petal pink for the mat. Let me grab it. And what I like to do when I decide is I just make sure everything's going to look good. So, you know what? Let's do some Mossy Meadow. I think I like the Mossy Meadow better. So what I like to do is I pull all of my paper out first that is listed on the back of the package. It will list all of the colors that are in the Designer Series paper. So I'll pull those out and have them so that way if I change my mind, I don't have to keep getting up and going and finding another thing. So I've already got my Mossy Meadow pulled. So I think I'm going to use that. So let me see if this scrap piece will work. So our front mats are going to be 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. See if I'm, yep, okay. So I'm going to cut 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. Okay, that's one mat. And then we're going to need 2 of them that are 3 1/8 by 2 7/8. So 2 7/8 by 3 1/8. Almost a square, but not quite. And I need one more scrap. Okay, so we have 2 of those that are 3 1/8 by 2 7/8, and then we have one that is 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. Okay, so these are mats to go on here, and then the last little bit we have is to cut our front designer series paper. So we're going to cut that 4 1/4 by 3. And the 4 1/4 is going to be the long way. So I'm going to cut my 3 inches first because I want to play around with what I want to show in my paper. So I want to show a little bit more of these flowers. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit off the bottom here. And then I'm going to make it 3 inches tall. So now I know I'll get a little bit more of my flowers showing. So that was kind of what I was aiming for. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm going to make that 4 1/4. Okay, so we have 4 1/4 by 3. And then we have 3 by 2 3/4. So I'm going to look and see what I have. I think I actually could probably use this, but I think what I'll do is grab, because this is a special card, so I'm going to grab one more piece with that design. It's right here. And that's going to be 3 by 2 3/4. So 2 3/4. So just basically what you want to do is figure out what you want to showcase in your cardstock and then just cut it to the sizes that you want. All right, so I'm making this one 2 3/4 by 3. And what I did is I just chopped a little bit off the bottom so that what I had left is what I wanted to show on that layer. Okay, and then the last piece, and I've already stamped on it, is a piece of basic white, and that is going to be 3 by 2 3/4. And I of course will have all of my cutting and scoring instructions on my blog, which is linked below. All right, so let's start putting this together and we'll walk our way through this really simple fold. So this is our back layer. So we're going to go ahead and fold. This is the biggest section. That's going to go to the right. So we're going to fold that in, grab your bone folder, give it a nice little burnish, and then fold the other part over. So there's our Z, our first Z, right? And this is a double Z. So our front one will be the other Z. Okay, so now we'll open that back up. And these are those layers that we cut. And I'm just kind of laying them out to make sure I have them all in the correct direction. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that pretty? I just love the colors in this paper. So I'm going to get my silicone craft sheet out. And I'm just going to start laying this out. And all I'm doing is putting some glue around the edges. And I'm going to pop that on. Very simple. And it's just got a very narrow margin, so I'm just kind of dropping it where I think it works. And since I used my liquid glue, I can manipulate it around until it's exactly where I want it. Okay, so that one's good. So now I'm going to do the next piece. Same thing, narrow margin. I'm going to manipulate it a little till I get it exactly where I want it, because I don't do much straight without having to move it. I don't get it straight the first time most of the time, which is why liquid glue works so well for me. Alright. I am going to have to open the windows. It was chilly yesterday here in Lyons, Colorado, and today it was cool all morning, and it just finally got warm, and it's getting a little warm in the RV. Gonna have to open a window. Okay. So there we go. So there is our back layer, and that's all done. Isn't that beautiful? I just love it. All right, so we're gonna set this aside, and now we're going to grab the other layer. So on the front layer, the long side goes on the left, okay? So you're gonna put that long side on the left, and then you're going to fold it under and then fold it out. Okay, so your Z is going to go like this with your long forward. So you have a mountain and a valley. All right, so give that a good burnish with the bone folder. And now we're going to do the same thing. On this layer, we have our mats. So we have a mat for this piece, and we have a mat for this piece, and then our last mat is for our white, Whisper White piece. Basic white piece. I still call it Whisper White. All right, so we're going to go ahead and glue our layers onto our mats first, because there are a few little extra instructions on this part. So I'm just layering this on as straight as I can. Okay. And then I'm going to grab my next one. This is a great card to make because you can crank these out. You could make 6 of these in assembly line fashion in probably an hour, maybe less. It just depends on how much die cutting you're going to do. If you're not doing a lot of die cutting, you can really pop these out fast. These are quick cards. All right. So now I'm going to tell you how I colored this in. I didn't want to take the time to do it because I didn't want to take a lot of time of your time. It's very simple. I got, now if you don't want to use alcohol blends to color your stamps. That's going to mess up your stamps because it has alcohol in it, right? That makes sense. So what I did was I put this stamp on a stamp block. Now I did have a fresh Freesia Stampin' Write marker. So for the pink on these little thistles, I went ahead and colored the stamp in where all of the little flowers are with my, this is actually fresh Freesia, so I did have that marker, but I didn't have an old olive, so to color or a mossy meadow. So if you want to do mossy meadow, that's great, or you could do old olive. I did old olive, and so if you squish your pad really hard, now this is an older pad, but the new pads work the same, squish it really hard, and then you're going to get a pool of ink right here. And I just used my blender pens and grabbed that ink up, inked it up, and then just wiped on all the color wherever I want that old olive or mossy meadow or whatever you decide to use. And so since it does take a couple of minutes to do that, either way, once you're done coloring your stamp and it's on your block, I would have it on a block, you huff on it and get that hot breath on there and then stamp it down. And so doing this, I mean, you could stamp it in basic black and color it in, or Memento ink and color it in, but this just looks nice and soft. So that's how you do that. So I did want to show you that. So now that that's done, I'm going to layer it onto this mat. okay? Because the reason I did it is because this stamp, the flowers, the thistles are solid. So if I did this in Memento ink, these thistles would be black, and I didn't want them black. I wanted them to be fresh freesia. So I went ahead and just used my markers for that. So that's why I did that. If I were going to use these flowers here, I would just stamp them in Memento and color them in. And I'll show you another sample that I did with doing that very same thing. All right, so I'm just layering this on here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and layer these onto the pink, the Petunia Pop. I'm going to learn these new colors. So this is getting layered here, and everything fits perfectly. Same thing for this one. Look how pretty this paper is. Oh, I just love this designer series paper. I thought I loved the Garden Meadow, but I have to say I think I love this one even more. All right, last one. Okay, so now this is going to be layered on the front of this card just about like this, okay? So the way I like to do it is I like to go ahead and put my adhesive on the reverse side of where we're going to have our writing. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue back here. This is what I find the easiest to do. So now I'm kind of holding it shut like this, and I'm putting this piece in place right here, and then I'm going to kind of position it where I want it to be on the card, and then I'm going to push it down. Okay, so that's how I do it. So that is adhered onto here. So now we have to do this front piece, and obviously we only want to have the glue on the back here in this area. So what I do is I just kind of put my thumbnail where I don't want ink to go past. So I want to keep all my ink up here. That's how I do it. You could use a pencil and mark it too if you wanted to, but this works for me. So I just will do that. And then I'm going to turn it back around, and I'm just going to press it down. And I have my card completely shut so that I know everything shuts nice and smooth. Okay? Ready? So there you go. Super, super simple, right? And it just sits up so pretty. So that's done. So now we want to do some decorating. This is the fun part. So before we came on, I went ahead and got some Mossy Meadow paper out. And I'll just put it right here so you can see it well. And I die cut 2 of these, and then I die cut 2 of these. Now let me show you. This is actually basic white paper, and the die is right here. So this die has the flowers and the leaves all as one, and there's 2 ways you can do this. I die cut these in basic white, and then I just took my alcohol blends, I took my Mossy Meadow and colored in everything that was, I just used my scrap paper, and then I just color in everything that is a leaf with my alcohol blends, okay? And then I go through with the fresh freesia, and I did all of my flowers, and then I did a little bit of shading as well. So I did that twice to create these 2 stems. Now the other way you could do it, if you choose, is you could cut one of these out in Mossy Meadow, and then you could cut one of these out in fresh freesia, and then you could glue them together. So if you die cut them using the adhesive sheets, this piece with the adhesive sheets, so it's got adhesive on the back, then you can actually lay it right on top of the fresh freesia one like that. So that's another way you can do it if you choose to do it that way. That works out beautifully as well. But I kind of like the way it looked. It looks nice and soft by coloring it in. So I wanted to tell you there's more than one way to do that. So those are those 2 pieces. And then remember that Unbound Love, that I showed you. Well, it has some really great, where did I put it? Where did I put it? Here it is. So all of those great sayings are there, but I didn't use the sayings from there. I used the "You Make My Life Better" that's right here. And I stamped it in Versamark ink and embossed it with white embossing powder. And I die cut it using one of the dies from the Unbound Love bundle. So it has this great little scalloped piece that worked perfectly. So I went ahead and die cut that. And then there's also this little piece here, and this cuts out just a frame. So I cut a frame out in Blackberry Bliss, and they layer completely together like this. So I thought that was really pretty in its coloring. It's pulling all of my colors together. So this is a really great set. And this bundle not only has all these sayings, but there's so many neat frames and things that you can use with lots of your other stamp sets. So I wanted to show you that. All right, so now we're going to do some assembling. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to, I like to lay everything out first. So I'm going to take those two stems that we cut in Mossy Meadow, and I think I'm going to put those on first, and then I'm going to layer my flowers over it like that, and then I think I'm going to be putting this piece here. Okay, and I did grab out some ribbon. Where did I put it? Here it is. I grabbed some, I have this Petal Pink and White Duo ribbon, and I thought white ribbon might look nice, and I haven't decided if I'm going to use it. So let's take a look. I haven't even opened this one. I'm not even sure ribbon is needed because there's so much already going on. But let's see. So we could just take some ribbon and kind of layer it back here and then have this here too. So I'm going to cut a piece just to see if we want to use that. I like to do it that way, and if I don't use it, it's okay. I'll use it for something else. So let's go ahead and start layering. So for this piece, I'm just going to put a few drops of glue here and there just to kind of get it set, and you don't have to glue it all down. I find it's kind of pretty when it's sort of flowing around and moving a little on the card. You just have to be careful when you put the card in the envelope. So there's that, and I'm going to do a second piece. Like that. All right, and now I have these pretty pieces that I hand colored, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drop a few drops on these flowers. That's a great way to anchor it. And then you just decide where you want them. That looks kind of good. I like that. And then I just put my hand down for a second, just a few seconds, just to get them all set. Okay. And that just tacks it down enough that you're not going to have a bunch of movement. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to this other piece. And I'm just putting just a few dots of glue around, mostly on the flowers, just to anchor it down. And we'll go ahead and put that one here. Another thing I'll do sometimes is I'll just take one of these packets and just hold it down for a second. It's a little bit better than my hand. All right, that looks good. Okay, so that's done. Now we want to decide if we want to go ahead and use this ribbon. I think I do because I think it's kind of pretty. So I'm going to notch where the middle is. And I'm going to grab my glue dots that are, I know, on my table. Here they are. And I'm going to use these glue dots to kind of anchor my ribbon in place. So I'll put one there. And then I cut my ribbon a little bit. Put one over here. All right, so I think this is a little long. So I'm going to use one more glue dot and shorten it a little. This is the part of stamping where I totally wing it, so sometimes I switch my mind. That was a little bit long, so I'm going to just put one more glue dot there to even it out. That looks good. And then one final glue dot, and you could use glue, you could use Stamp and Seal if you want. This works for me. So I'm going to just kind of place that where I think I want it. All right. Now for this piece, I'm just going to put a few drops of liquid glue here and there. You could also die cut this on an adhesive sheet, which would be a really easy way to do this. Because then you just peel it off and place it down on the paper. But I didn't pull my adhesive sheets out, so we're doing it this way. So now I'm just going to drop it down, and then I'm using these little circles. These little, you probably can't see it, there's tiny little perforated circles. And I'm using that as sort of my guide on where to put this piece. Look how pretty that is. All right. And then last but not least, we're going to put some dimensionals on here. Thank you, Take Your Pick tool, for making that job easy. All right, and then I'm just going to lay this on here like that. Look how pretty this card is. So gorgeous. All right, so now all it needs is some embellishments. I think this would be a really great card, making sure all my dimensionals are stuck on there. For the butterflies. Let me see if I have my butterflies handy. The brass butterflies are so pretty. And I know they're in here somewhere. I have a lot of bling, as you can see. All right, we're going to grab some butterflies because I think I also have the dragonflies. Those would be pretty as well. So let's put a little one here. Maybe have a big one over here. And one more little one over here. Beautiful. How easy is that card? I mean, really it takes longer to color than it does to assemble. So here's our card, You Make Life Better. Beautiful designer series paper. The colors are all perfectly coordinated. I did a little bit of stamping. You could put an additional message here, but oh, such a pretty card. So let me show you the Mother's Day cards that I made. This is where I got my inspiration. I found a very similar card online, and this is what got me motivated to make this card. I just think it's so pretty with the pool party and the pretty peacock paper. It's got some linen twine. I used the circles from the Stylish Shapes dies and the gems that come with that coordinate with the new In Color colors. And Petunia Pop was one of the colors, and Petal and I think Petal Pink, but they match perfectly. So that is one of my Mother's Day cards for my daughters. And this is for my other daughter, and this one uses Blackberry Bliss and Petunia Pop. It's a very similar card. I used some different layering leaves. I used a different die for the leaves in the background, but I did the same flowers. And then I used a different set of flowers on the inside. But look at this paper. It's just so pretty. And I used the Petunia Pop ribbon as well. So we've got 3 gorgeous Mother's Day cards for 2 gorgeous Mother's Day cards for 2 gorgeous mothers, and then 1 special card for someone who is going to receive that very soon. So that is the Double Z Fold card using the Unbound or the Thoughtful Journey Designer Series papers and suite of products. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you get notification of all of my videos that come out on Wednesdays, and soon to be coming out on probably Friday as well, some quick tips and fun Friday things. So be on the lookout for that. And then don't forget to go down to below and click on the link to my blog and my online store for all of your Stampin' Up! Needs. I'm Jill, the Wandering Stamper. I hope you have a fabulous day, and please don't forget to set some time out to craft today. See you soon.